Well, it's not the only pressure that's being brought to bear on Donald Trump. He has given in a sense, and urged lawmakers in his own party to vote to release the files. He was asked about this before he boarded Air Force One. This is what he had to say.
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you're a terrible reporter, and fake news like you, they just keep bringing that up to deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration. So a guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party. So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
Well, the problem for him is that some of the pressure that he's calling deflection is coming from his own party. Emily Maitlis is here with me, co-host of Global's podcast, The News Agents. This is more about the Republicans, isn't it, than he cares to let on?
Yeah, it is, Sheila. But I want to go back to the video for a moment because I think that's really important. This is put together by victims' families, by survivors of Epstein, of sexual abuse. And the last line is a petition to lawmakers. And they say, we will remember how you vote. In other words, do the right thing, but also we're watching you. And I think that's a message that many Republican lawmakers have taken on board now, which is we want to do the right thing by our constituents, by the people we represent, and it will chase us if we get this wrong. And so the man who has brought the petition on the Republican side is a man called Thomas Massey. He's from Kentucky, and he went on the morning shows yesterday in the US, and he was asked how many people he thought would sign the petition to release the Epstein files, how many Republicans. And what he said was, there's going to be a deluge. We expect more than 100 Republican lawmakers to sign a petition that says release the Epstein files. So I think something happened after we went to bed and Trump was looking at the numbers, digesting what was going on. And he posted on Truth Social that he'd had a change of mind and that he thought it should be a change, that they should release the Epstein files. Trump very rarely surprises me, in the things that he says. But when I woke up this morning and I heard that, I thought, oh, hang on a second. Yeah. This is a big move. This is coming from a man who realises that actually all the ways out, the sort of exit strategies he was looking at, have slightly gone. And if he's faced with a vote, and this is not like a Democrat vote he's going to lose, it's a MAGA vote, it's his own base. If his own base start to vote against him on something they really care about, which is Epstein, then he's going to look stupid. And so he's now saying, OK, we've got to release the files.
But you were saying to me a moment ago that there is still one way out to stop them being released, and that's him using an executive power, is it? Or using his power as president to say no? I mean, I doubt he would at this stage. That would look very shifty, wouldn't it?
It has to go through the House, the lower chamber, then it has to go through the Senate. And if it passes both those chambers, then Trump still has to sign it before it takes effect. So the White House was asked, can he comment on whether he'll sign it? And they didn't respond to that. And Trump was silent. He's been silent so far on whether he wants to see a Senate vote as well as a House vote. So he might just be playing for time here. He might be saying, oh, the House will do that, but it won't get to the Senate, or I won't have to sign it off. But again, these things start to look slightly fudgy, slightly waffly. I think the mistake he made was he's been calling it a Democrat hoax for a long time, and that allowed anyone around him to say, oh, it's a Democrat hoax. All these files, all these papers, all the birthday book, all these drawings that I'm meant to have done, they're all a hoax, they're all a hoax. And then suddenly over the weekend, he sort of changed the narrative and he said, why aren't you going after Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton's mentioned in that tranche of emails. Why aren't you going after him? So suddenly everyone's sort of stuck with these two versions of the truth. Like, is it a hoax, or should they be going after Bill Clinton? Because you can't have it both ways.
I mean, he's making a virtue out of necessity here, isn't he, when it comes to finally going, oh, go on then, get them out, get the files out, do what you like.
I mean, it's hard to think what else is going on here.
Yeah.
That when we talked last, it was last Thursday, and we just had that tranche of 23,000 documents released.
Which you've read for us over the weekend, haven't you?
I've been doing nothing else. And he is mentioned in a surprising number of them. Now, we have to say they come from a prolific paedophile and a prolific liar, and we don't know the response. We don't know the veracity of the emails, and we haven't had any response from Trump. But clearly, the more that people dig into it, the less he is able to get on top of anything else. That's what's been going on. He can't, he wants to talk about the shutdown, he wants to talk about Democrats' problems, he wants to presumably get back onto talking about the economy and affordability, and every time he tries to talk about those issues, people just go, what about the Epstein files? And
it's my sense, and I don't know whether I'm right here, it could just be what I'm noticing and not noticing, but my sense of things is that since the Virginia Giuffre book, co-authored with Amy Wallace, more victims have been happy to come forward or prepared to come forward and speak some have before, but to speak more. And even that video it's a way of, it's almost as though Virginia Giuffre and the book has given new impetus to the victims here. Yeah.
Well, I think that the more we see, and don't forget, when we're talking about the release of the Epstein files, that comes from the FBI and the Department of Justice. The files that we had over the weekend were just from Epstein's own estate. But the point is that the more you can read, the more transparent this becomes, the more questions there are, not just for Trump. I mean, in all honesty, we do not know anything about his behaviour, except that it seems the relationship with Epstein carried on a lot longer. But there are a lot more men that are mentioned in those papers and in those emails. And there are a lot more victims who presumably know exactly what those men did. So actually, the questions are much wider. This is not just about, politically, yes, it's about Epstein and Trump, and it's about Trump's discomfort with people asking about Epstein and his friendship. Yeah. But it goes so much wider than that. And
it's about the authorities generally as well, isn't it? What they did about...
Yes, and it's about, when you look at all the names, there's scientists in there, there's businessmen in there, there's politicians in there, there's international politicians in there. They're all being mentioned. There's Democrats as well as Republicans. So really what you're saying is this is a chance for us to get to the bottom of all the stuff that went on, and there will be victims who don't need to give the names out loud because they've done this already. They've been to the FBI,
and
they've been to the authorities. It's all theirs. Yeah.
And this vote then, the committee, tomorrow, is it?
We don't know. I mean, we've been told it's this week. Right. It would be nice if it was tomorrow, and maybe it will sort of get some pace now as a result of this. We're expecting, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, yeah.